Well, good evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight for this FMEA PD After Dark session. We hope that you're sitting in your pajamas with a glass of wine, maybe relaxing and learning all together. We appreciate so much that you've joined us tonight and given up this Monday evening to learn. And of course, you did that because we have the amazing David Eccles here to speak with you and share with you and converse with you. Please remember that this is designed to be a conversation. So we hope that you will type in the chat box if you have questions, if you have thoughts, and I know Dr. Eccles will share more with you about that process. But let me go ahead and just make sure that you know all about David Eccles. David is a native of Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm going to stop until I put on my glasses. There we go. David is a native of Norfolk, Virginia. He currently serves as orchestra program and upper school orchestra director at the Lovett School in Atlanta, Georgia. In the spring of 2022, he was honored with the O. Wayne Rollins Master Teacher Award. For over a decade, he was the director of string music education and orchestral activities at Vandercook College of Music in Chicago, Illinois. He has held string education positions in Georgia, Virginia, and Florida. An active clinician, adjudicator, conductor, and cellist, Eccles has served as music director and principal conductor for numerous youth orchestras. He has also served as a guest conductor for many state, county, regional, and community orchestras. And if you want to know more about David on the FMEA website, you'll see his full bio where you can read more about him. But I don't want to waste any more time with you listening to me. I want to make sure you've got every minute to learn from David Eccles. So at this moment, I'd like to turn it over to David and hope that you all enjoy the professional development session. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for those kind words. It's so great to be here once again. Even remotely, I feel like I'm home. My years of teaching in Florida were and still continue to be an inspiration, constant source of inspiration. My colleagues and the students and the music that's made in Florida. I brag on it every day. I bragged on it when I was in Illinois. I brag on it here in Georgia, and everywhere I go. I always point to my time in Florida as being the time that helped me, that shaped my my progress as an educator and as a human being and as a musician. So it's always so fun to be back and visiting with my friends in Florida. So it's also not lost on me that we're going to be talking about powering down to power up in a Zoom, which is sort of oxymoronic or ironic, as it were. But I guess maybe that's sort of the kernel of what we're going to talk about tonight, because we now have a lot of things very much active in our lives that we sort of hadn't planned on even 2 short years ago, and we have access to technology and to resources that I remember having conversations in the early 2000s about some of these resources not coming online for 20 and 30 years, and now to have so many of them right there out and present, everything from a format like Zoom, where we can actually talk in real time and not have a big delay, and we can have a virtual conversation. From that to virtual rehearsals, where if any of you are using the Jack Trip hardware and software, you can literally have a distance real-time rehearsal with zero lag. It's amazing technology. Or something like Screen Grab or Loom, where we can record ourselves teaching a lesson in real time and bring in all sorts of resources to have a really efficient, like, flipped classroom type of situation. So we have, these past couple of years has just forced us to drink from a fire hose of technology. Maybe sometimes for the good, maybe sometimes to the detriment of maybe our personal time, and perhaps it maybe took away some of our opportunity to create a more balanced work-life schedule. So we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about that tonight. The sort of the genesis for the thought of my talk came from a couple of videos, a couple of different videos about time management and about really burnout since COVID. One of the interesting things I found was that there was a sort of an ongoing survey of music teachers who and they were talking about burnout and how they felt about their time pre-COVID, in COVID process, and then now sort of moving out of the pandemic, and I guess the results are not that surprising. The string teachers, in the most part, have reported like the least amount of stress, with everything that has come with COVID. Go down the continuum. Band directors are next, and sort of at that middle level of stress and learning how to reclaim personal time. And our colleagues who are suffered the most are our colleagues in the choir, on the choral side, for obvious reasons, during COVID. So it's interesting seeing how especially in the three big performance area, how we are coming back online and working our way back to some type of normalcy. But as we sort of figure things are never going to go back to the way they were, and I think that's a product of progress. We now have these great tools that are available to us and help us be the best educators we can be, and help our students discover more about themselves and about how they learn and about how they retain information and about how they're able to share that with the world. Our our kids are, that's the other thing that sort of inspired this talk today. I mean, I have a 12-year-old, and she's constantly online. If it's not for school, then it's on her phone. She's on very limited social media, but on that social media, she's creating content. She has her little set of followers at school. So she's already starting to have that need to feed the beast, right? Oh, my friends are looking for something. My friends are looking for content, or my friends are looking for this, for some reaction or something that of course happens to be outside of what she has to do for school. So we are, all learning that balance. How do we sort of serve all these different forces that are pulling at our time? So I pop into the chat a link to a TED Ed lesson that I've created for us tonight. We'll start with watching a little 5-minute video, and then we'll discuss from there.
For so many of us, myself included, our days feel filled with a million small interruptions. And this is true even of our days off. Maybe you've taken a call at the beach, texted your boss from the grocery store, or emailed a colleague while on a picnic with your family. We've convinced ourselves that these behaviors are no big deal. It's just one email. But there's a real cost to these interruptions, and there are smart strategies we can all take to better protect our time. These moments seem so small at the time, and yet research suggests they add up to a tremendous loss. The constant creep of work into our personal lives can increase our stress and undermine our happiness. So just what is the cost? In one study, researchers recruited parents who were visiting a science museum with their kids. Some parents were told to check their phone as much as possible, others were told to check their phone as little as possible. After the visit, parents who used their phones reported that the experience was significantly less meaningful. They also felt much lonelier. In another study, tourists who were asked to have their phones out while visiting an iconic church remembered fewer details a week later. And in my research, employees who were paid for their performance spent increasingly less time interacting with friends and family, and more time interacting with colleagues and clients. These constant interruptions come at a cost to organizations too. Companies lose 32 days of productivity each year to employee depression, which is often caused by the stress and burnout of our always-on culture. Despite knowing better, I too have found myself focusing on urgent work distractions over important life moments. Most recently, I found myself texting a client while in the middle of my first child's first ultrasound. Happy client, guilty mom to be. When you add up all of these moments, the sum total is a life shortchanged on meaning, joy, connection, and even memory. As we remake our models of work in the wake of the pandemic, now is our opportunity to create a new culture that respects time. And the way to make this really big change is through small steps that we can take right now. The first step that we need to take is to reframe rest. Reflect for a moment about what you think about when you hear the word rest. Sounds amazing, right? But in my mind, I immediately worry about not being productive enough or letting down my colleagues. When we do have time off, we need to find ways in which we can enjoy the present moment and savor the leisure time that we have available, as opposed to seeing it as an unproductive barrier to our work. One specific strategy we can take is to treat our upcoming weekend like a vacation. On Friday afternoon, jot down how you would act and behave as if you were on a holiday. Maybe you and your partner will buy a bottle of wine and watch online clips of the Eiffel Tower. Maybe you'll visit a local cafe and listen to some live music. Or maybe you'll go for a long walk in the middle of the day with no phone and no agenda. The plan doesn't have to be expensive or extravagant. Another strategy you can take is to create clear boundaries for your time off. Instead of saying, I'm out of the office, feel free to Slack me whenever, say, I'll be offline. Call me only if it's urgent. To uphold these personal goals, work together as a team. Set team goals for personal time. Do it publicly, collect data, and hold each other accountable. These goals could sound like, I will not check email between 6 and 8 p.m., I will have dinner with my family 4 nights a week, or I will go for a jog midday. Check in on your team's progress and see how everyone's doing. If you or your teammates are unsuccessful, work together to help accomplish personal goals. Lastly, you can negotiate for more time to prevent work from creeping into your personal life. In business school, I teach students to negotiate for salary, but realize I spoke almost nothing about negotiating for more time. What does this look like in practice? You can ask for more time on adjustable deadlines at work. If your client asks for a deliverable Monday morning, ask for an extension until Tuesday afternoon so you don't find yourself working on your well-deserved weekend. And don't worry too much about reputation. Quality truly is the metric that matters most. In my data, employees who proactively asked for more time reported lower levels of stress and burnout and were seen as more committed and professional by their colleagues. These are small but powerful changes to not only reframe rest, but to reclaim it. Once you discover the profound impact that these changes can have, you'll feel empowered to demand that others respect and accommodate your approach to time. Maybe they'll even feel inspired to piece together the fractured moments of their lives too.
So I created some questions, some things for us to think about. She talked about three main tenets of her, of this idea of reclaiming time. I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about each of those. So if anybody wants to pop into the chat what they got, what's the first was the first area she talked about when it comes to creating a better work-life balance. Yeah, Azure. Yeah, and Chris. Yeah, reframing rest. I that it seems a little obvious, but the way she talked about it in terms of sort of being purposeful and making a plan when you know you have your time off, and literally the other thing she showed, but she really didn't talk about, was that she put it in her Google Calendar, or she put it on her calendar. So that idea of saying, okay, I'm going to reclaim my rest, but I'm going to be organized about it, right? I'm going to have a plan. It may seem a little counterintuitive, but I think the bottom line is, that's an acknowledgement of this level of organization we can have in our lives, thanks to Google Calendar and iCal and all of these tools that help us manage our time. So so this idea of reframing your rest to be very precise in how you use it. We'll talk more about that later. Any ideas on what the second big area she talked about when it came to reframing or rethinking your time-life balance? Yes, yeah, Chris. Right, that idea of creating clear boundaries, right? That's because I think we are all educators, or we're coming at our jobs with an educator's heart, and to me, an educator's heart is a service heart. So if we say, oh, that student needs, that student needs a little time, or this parent needs a little time, they need to take a little bit of my time for some help, or let me jump in here and help my administrator. I see maybe chairs need to be moved, or I see maybe they have a pack of mailers on their desk, and if I can get in there and just grab a couple, help out, that's okay. But it's those little things, like you talked about, that start to blur those boundaries for you. So this idea of creating those boundaries, and the great thing about those boundaries is you decide, right? You are in charge of your boundaries, and it's important to set them, right? And I think the other interesting thing she talked about is that you can create a team, have a buddy system sometimes. If we work in a large department, or if we're connected to our friends at school, and I sit at the tables in our faculty dining room, and we're talking about how we are using our time, and how we are trying to, now as we get back into the swing of what we do, especially on the performance side, right? So we have this need to make sure our students get the performance material we want them to get, be it in the form of some technique or some musical ideas, down to just what we need them to do in concert. We now have ways to give them that more formative feedback outside of the rehearsal. So those things can creep into our time. And it's so fun. My colleague at work is great about at 3:45, he'll come in and say, "Hey, I'm going home. You need to go home too." And we have that sort of unspoken rule with each other, because we know we'll both get in there and start working, answering emails or looking at the videos from our little fourth grade beginners, because we want to give them that feedback. But like you said, that when you have somebody on the team to help keep you on track and to gently remind you of the boundaries you set for yourself, when sometimes you want to be of service and sometimes forget about those boundaries. It's great to have folks to check back in with you, to keep you true to yourself and true to the words to yourself. All right. So what a little bit of discussion about what was the third area. And I think this one for us, I think there's maybe a lot more flexibility than sometimes maybe we think, right? Because that third area is negotiating for more time. Yes, we have, we have our concerts. Those are pretty set. We have, we do have some time sensitive things we need to do, like, paperwork for field trips and anything that involves, EPA assessment, having those time sensitive things on our schedule. Those are pretty set, but maybe there are some things for which we can say, you know what, I need a little bit more time because I need more time, right? It's because if I continue to work like this, the work is going to spill over into my personal time. And I made a commitment to myself or to my partner or to my family that I'm not going to let this flow into my personal time. So it's okay to say that. And it's sort of getting that thought into our heads, because we are, that's the other part that for some of us that comes with being having a service heart, also comes being type A, wanting to get it done, wanting to be organized, so that, because we know we'll have 60, 70, 300 kids and parents that have to react to some of the information we share. So maybe this idea of asking for more time, will allow us to really step back and take a look at some of the things we have planned to do or we are asked to do, to say, maybe that's not, maybe that can wait until Tuesday to get it. I know it was due Friday, but maybe that can wait. My wife is a nurse, and sometimes in those high stress professions, they don't have the luxury of more time. So that's the other thing when it comes to time, is perspective, right? What really is going to happen if maybe you got an extra 48 hours to finish a project, right? Like she was saying in the video, it may even make the project better because you have a lower stress level. So that lower stress level, what happens with stress, that's your body, that's the hypothalamus signaling to your body that something bad is happening, right? So you're either going to flight, fight, or freeze mode, right? So the more you can lower those high cortisol levels and introduce those more calming compounds in your brain, the better you'll be able to attempt and be successful at some of those projects that may need a little extra time, if it looks like they're going to bleed over into your personal time. Okay, so those are those three big those three big areas. Just curious if anyone have anything to share along those lines before we expand our discussion a little more. Okay, so if so I created a list of sort of discussion questions in the actual TED Ed lesson, but we can pull those out here and just ask you a couple of sort of fast action questions. And if you want to chime into the chat, either a yes or a no, or you can also click into the TED Ed. I also have that up on my screen if you want to type into the forms there. Or the third option is if you want to create a Google Doc for yourself that you don't want to share, and just to jot down your thoughts, that's fine too. All right, so the first quick response question is, have you created an out of office or outside of office hours automatic responder for all of your electronic communication? So if you haven't, one of the things, if you use, I don't know if it's in your, whatever email interface you have, you can create, go in and create that automatic response that you can program to come up, that says, thank you for your correspondence. This is outside of my office hours. I will respond in 24 hours, or I'll respond to you after the weekend, just so that folks can get that notification that yes, their message was received, but you're going to take this time to respond. I started using that, when I'm, when we're off, for our major time away, like over the holidays, or even I've even started doing it for days off of school. Like if I know we don't have class on Monday, I will program that automatic responder on my email to kick in at the exact hour I'm done with school, and it'll say, okay, thank you for your correspondence. I will get back to you when I am back on office hours, so sort of having that, and that also goes to planning, right? Knowing that your time away from the office, especially if it's a holiday and not like a teacher work day, to know that it's okay for you to not respond, for you to not grade papers or get back to questions during that time. The same thing is true like on your phone. If you choose to open up your emails on your phone, you can set an automatic response from your phone too. Certain SMS programs will have an automatic reply feature too. So it may take a little digging, but that's one thing to think about when it comes to especially like reclaiming your time. All right, fast response question number 2. Have you ever created a 24/7 like week calendar to track everything you do, from sleeping to your time at work, what you do at work, when you eat your lunch at work, the time it takes you to get home, the time you go to bed, the time you sleep, the time because I started doing that with my freshmen in college, because at Vandercook, those kids were tasked to do so many things, because they sort of didn't have to take like filler classes from day one. They were taking like 3 and 4 technique classes, their core classes, and then observing and then taking lessons and then playing in all the ensembles and doing chamber music. And, it was intense. And so, their common response to, well, do you have, when they were coming for a lesson, say, I didn't have time to practice this week. And that started to become a real issue. So I sat down with my low string studio and had them map out 24/7 what they were doing. I mean, it's a little tedious, but the first time you do it, you really start to get a sense of how you spend your day. That's one of those things, because coincidentally, this is also one of the things they talk about when you're dieting or when you're on an eating plan, right? To make a diary of everything you eat. And you'd be surprised if you're truthful and really keep a log of everything you eat, you start to find, maybe at this moment there was some mindless activity that caused me to eat something I didn't want to eat, or that was convenient because, this idea of making a journal or writing, keeping a 24/7 clock, not for every time, but like for a week, just so that you can have, once again, a visual. If you're like, I'm a visual. I mean, we all learn in multiple modes, but sometimes when I can see the big picture on my beautifully color-coded Google Calendar, sometimes it's a reminder of, okay, I'm either too booked and I need to ask for more time on something that I know is coming up, or I have a moment here to reclaim my personal time and set a boundary. So having that graphic representation sometimes can help. It can help create that balance. All right, fast response question number 3, and someone just mentioned it. How much sleep do you get? And do you understand your individual sleep cycle? I don't know, Nori, so I have one of these watches, and it tells me, so when I wear it at night, it tells me, Chris, the levels of sleep that I go through. It tells me, how much time I was in light sleep, how much time I was in REM sleep, how much time I was in deep sleep. It tells me how much I moved at night, So I can go back and say, and notice, I had a lot on my mind this night because what 80% of my, I really, it's like that. I only was in deep sleep like 65% of my sleep. My the other time was not in deep sleep, or in, I guess the big advertising term these days is junk sleep. Have you guys heard that? That's what they use to try to get you to buy a better mattress. Don't have junk sleep, but it's about keeping track of when your body is recharging, and for us it's different. The studies show that younger brains sometimes need more sleep. Older brains, older bodies, maybe not so much. But it just depends on the individual. And I've been thinking about this because we've actually had our students, we're working on a multi-year sort of project with our kids to have them track their sleep and understand their sleep patterns, so that they know how to best, set themselves up for success by having good sleep habits and understanding what those sleep habits are. Some classes are keeping a sleep journal. Some classes are using their devices to to map out their sleep, and so they look at their individual sleep cycle versus the class sleep cycle. So it's some lots of cool data to come out of there. But this idea of knowing your sleep pattern, because that dictates, your rest. That lets you know, okay, at a certain time, I need to make sure that's sacred time, and sleep is important. All right, so those are the 3 big quick response questions. Now we're going to go the next level. We're going to go a little deeper, maybe to talk about some of your, or some of our, some of our professional experiences. So the next thing I sort of like to discuss is you to think about over the last 2 years. Can you think of any oh my gosh, where'd it go? My brain just blanked out. Okay, so over the past 2 years, what work or school procedures have allowed you to become more efficient? Right, so this is that. So just I'm going to sort of talk through the process of, okay, we have all this data, we have all this information. So have you given any thought to, hey, there are these things that happened in this past couple of years that I like, or that have made my life easier, or that have made my job easier, just in terms of process. And we'll drill down into more specifics here in a couple of questions. But right now, once you think big picture, the gestalt, what have anything, what's happened to help you feel more like you're able to create a better balance? For me, one of the big things was being able to, I know you guys, there's like Screencastify or Loom, there are these programs that allow you to like capture part of your process, part of your process that is that you maybe explain over and over again, or for instance, if you had an assignment, that the process was the same for all of your classes, you can record a Loom, or you can record like a Screencastify, and go through those steps one time, and then just post it for each of your classes. So that, one way to get instruction, or to get a larger set of instructions out there, just do it once, and you can record it, and the stakeholders could come back through, and if they missed something, they could click back and go through, and or even better, if there was some question that they had about the bigger process, they could go through and create a better crafted question because they had more information. The next big question is, so now you talk about the big, some of the big processes. What about some of the more specific programs, either hardware or software that you've discovered in these past couple of years that are like, that's something I can keep, that's something I can use? Now, I finally got what you call an Alexis device, an Alexa device. So I got a couple smart bulbs, right? So now if I forget something at home, or if I need to make a note for myself, instead of looking for, if I can't find my phone, or if I can't find or whatever, I can say, okay, there's something I need to do, for school. Let me make scream at Alexa. She'll make a note for me, and then I'll ask her to play that note back to me at a certain time through like my phone app, because I'm old, and when things go away, they go away, and they may not come back. So Alexa has helped me remember a couple of really good ideas. What else? Alaris talked about Google Drive. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can't imagine my life now without Google Drive, right? I'm, being able to go back and pull up, things that I've created, like for the past, because I've been using Google Drive since my time at Vandercook, and I still have access to those files, or OneDrive or Dropbox, to be able to go. I got rid of a whole box of research, physical box of research, because I have everything online, saved in multiple places. Now, will I remember how to access some of that stuff? Maybe not, but at least it's there, and it's literally in the palm of my hand. That's a great observation. Google Voice. Yeah. Hey, Google. So simple, and as I listen to interviews with world-class recording artists, and listen to how they, how the phone has replaced like the 3-track cassette tape player. Some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. the 3-track cassette player to store musical ideas and lyrical ideas, and to be able to recall it and have it in one spot. Yes, Scott, exactly. Yeah, because things like Google Drive are so convenient, we can click in and go on. But that's the thing, right? We have to figure out what our on and off time is going to be. All right, here's another big question. So just as important as knowing what works, what hasn't worked? Can you maybe put your finger on something that maybe you thought was going to be great, and you invested time, and then it just didn't pan out? It just wasn't worth the time. Any program, and this is not to disparage any programs or any processes or hardware procedure. I'm just curious how you do that assessment in your life about for things that maybe don't work for you when it comes to technology and reclaiming your personal time. One of the things I did at the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, I consider myself sort of a techie anyway, so I started trying all these great recording apps, and all these music theory things, and all these things that were easily incorporated into Google Classroom, right? All these great resources. But what I found was that the more resources I used, so the more I had to remember, okay, no, I gave them that assignment through this app, and oh, nope, I gotta go, nope, wrong app, I need to go into something. So I learned to pare down what I was doing between just a few very specific apps that I could really live in and grow in, and use those as my main, go-to technology helpers. Right? Anybody else go through that system of discovery? Yeah. So I say all that to say, I hope you have a process to say and sort of understand that it's okay. It's okay to say no to something. It's okay to say, this is a great technology, this is a great process, but it just doesn't work for me. Because I've talked to some colleagues who sort of try to tech shame You know, oh, you don't have the latest. Oh, you're wasting your time doing that. And you remember when it was either Sibelius or Finale, you have to be in either camp, you know. So this whole idea of there is the best, everybody has to have the best tech all the time. I think the bottom line is you have the best tech that works for you. You have to have the best tech that allows you to create that work-life balance you need for yourself. And if one of those things you like is starting to creep in and take more time than you're comfortable with, then you can readjust and you can recalibrate and figure something else out. Sort of one big, so your assignment for today, or one thing I want you to, we have about 9 minutes left, and if you could just take a couple of minutes and this idea of reclaiming your your relaxation time. I invite you to create a short-term action plan that will create a more favorable work-life balance, right? So what are some of the things you're going to do? You're going to be intentional and specific in creating your plan. Include the 5 W's, right? The 5 W's are the who, what, where, when, and why. And then sort of create a written agreement with yourself. And I'll pop that into the chat. It's like who. So I'm going to create the short-term agreement for myself and my wife, right? So the what is, we're going to have a date night. The where is our favorite ice cream, actually our favorite cheesecake joint, like right down the street. When will be whenever we say, and the why is to make sure we are spending time for ourselves, to make sure we are taking that time to reconnect. Just those quick sentences, and that's it. And to actually, but to physically write it down so that you can see it, or type it down, or however you want to physically preserve that information, because we all know it may live in our head, but once we have it down on paper, and once we are able to look at it and bring it into the physical realm, that will be our reminder of we've made this commitment to share, to reclaim our time, and to create a better work-life balance. And with that, we have about 5 minutes left. If I'm happy to answer questions, or you know, if we want to have a larger discussion, we have time. So. Yes, Alaire. Yes. yes. I know that's tough. That's tough. That's why I'm glad I have my partner who says, go home.
Yeah, that whole go home thing is really important, I think. I struggle with that. And then I also struggle with going home and still doing the work.
Right. But home means home. And exactly, Jeremiah. We have some time coming up, and now we have the opportunity to maybe reconnect with our friends and family in a way that we haven't been able to in the past couple of years, and to really unplug and spend that one-on-one time, and look that crazy uncle in the eye and say, I love you. I love you. Yes, I know you're a Tennessee fan, but I love you anyway. or I know you went to UM and I'm in FSU, but I still love you anyway. It's only football, right?
Oh, you can't say that after this week's game. That's dangerous.
I know it's wrong, but I'm lucky. It was a no lose for me because I have degrees from both institutions. So
There you go.
winner winner either way.
I struggle on the Battle of I-4 because I have degrees from USF and UCF. So it's always a lose-lose for me. But thank you again for being here. This was such an incredible meeting. I'm sure everybody in attendance got a lot out of it. And again, if you only were able to catch part of it, or if you have colleagues that didn't catch it, the recordings are always available on the FMEA website. And don't forget to sign up for our December 5th session. I believe it's December 5th. Scott and Jory, correct me if I'm wrong on there. And yeah, just thank you. This really was incredible. I appreciate it.
I want to say thank you to everybody for being here, and for everybody who may be watching. You are incredible human beings. The fact that you are here on a Monday night or giving up some part of your time to watch this means that you are doing so much good for the people in your life. And I want to just thank you and honor you for that commitment, because you make the world a better place. And I know there may be some weather coming down. You have I send you all the love and all the well wishes for the storm just to dissipate out in the ocean somewhere where nobody's affected and the winds just blow it away, and that you preserve. It's been enough this season.
Yeah, very true. We can only hope that Disney bubble expands itself and pushes everything away.
Exactly.
All right. Well, everybody online, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for being here, and be safe.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nori. Great to see you, even virtually.